in what I see happening even right now. The reality is that some of us have decided to just speak to power, and there's nothing that is going to stop us. I mean, like yesterday, I had somebody stop me somewhere, and I knew him, and he's a big businessman, and he was telling me, why is it that you're always telling the president this and that? Why don't you come and work with him? I said, I'd love to work with him. Let him just come and I tell him what he's doing wrong. That's if he's listening. Yeah. I'd love to work with him. I have no problem with working with him, because we have issues and we have problems, and we have to be honest about it. My thinking is that, of course, times have changed and the reality has changed. But my reality as a politician is that the circumstances under which we've been operating have not changed. The expectation was that when President Ruto would become president, and he would come up with this bottom-up thing of his, and I listened to Barack really expound and explain what they were thinking about. The general feel is that the politician or the political class is the one which has refused to acknowledge and understand the times have changed and the events have changed and the people have changed. In this case, the people are the young ones. The young ones are engaged, they're informed, they're articulate, they have zeroed in on why they think there's a problem in the country. They do not have the nitty-gritties, and that is where I think people like me, people like Joe Wanjigi, people like Barack Muluka, who are willing, Jimmy Wanjigi, sorry. Yeah, because Joe is different. Jimmy and Joe was his father, I think. Jimmy Wanjigi have been talking about these things, is that some of us have realized that the problem is not what we even just identify, that the problem are indeed structural. The very problems that you see are existential to the very existence of our country. I hear people talking about how these young men were trying to overthrow the government, and in fact, if you govern well, nobody would want to overthrow you. It's a reality. It's a fact. If you manage a company well, all right, let's just use a very simple analogy. Right. If you took a company, it's a bank, and you made sure that that bank is running reasonably well, you find that the bank had a debt or debts. You come in with a program with the management team that you have been hired with, that you sort out what the issue of these debts is. You then come in with this bank and you find there was no meritocracy, there was no management acumen used to either appoint or select or nominate individuals who are going to run the branches that you set of this bank. If you find that the consolidated an account that runs your company, or which is this bank in this case with the central bank, has got deficits, money is being pilfered from there, and if you find your internal auditors and your controller of your bank is telling you that no, you are spending too much, you are pilfering the resources, we are losing 106 billion. Imagine a bank losing 106 billion shillings. What would the MD of such a bank do? You either fix it or you resign. That's it. I mean, I don't see why people find that what we are raising is contradictory. We have a country where resources are being stolen, where the leadership class doesn't care, where our medical services are not being provided as expected. So the health sector is in a mess. The health facilities are not having equipment, medicines, and whatever that we need. We have the education sector, which is in a mess. There's no capitation. We have a problem with the exams. We are having a problem with class 8 and 9. You are talking about what else can I talk about, Ndu? The university kids are not going to university. Why? Because you picked some model of funding which is absolutely obnoxious, and the courts have ruled so, and you're doing nothing about it. And in case you decided that you're going to have an election, you do not have an IBC in case the president dies. I mean, people die, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. And sometimes the president can die. And I mean, why are we behaving as if this is a private company that is going to run by a family and nobody cares about the people who live. I was shocked the other day that members of the judiciary actually get some of that money for those bursaries.
To do what?
To give their relatives and friends.
Ah.
It's shared amongst all government departments. It is a kitty that softens our behavior. When you have been elected to the National Assembly, there is money that you get that quietens you.
So this is a question that we often ask in this room, Senator, because we say that before an election, you find a spirited man or woman, and it would appear as though their objective is to ensure that systems work properly, is to ensure that there's development, is to ensure that there's honor. You look at this individual and you're like, yeah, this is the panacea. This is what we actually need. And so we often wonder what happens when they actually get in.
When you get in, you find the loot.
Okay.
You find the loot. You are shown how the loot is shared.
Have you been
There are members of parliament who will get 500 million shillings to Maram roads in their constituencies.
Yes.
There are others who have been given. I know of a member of parliament in the last budget. I don't know, they have deleted it because we started interrogating it, where somebody has been given, because he is in the budget committee, 1.5 billion shillings. To do roads in his one constituency.
When others are getting 150.
When others are getting 50 million. When somebody, the system, and the team here, what I'm actually saying is that the system right now is designed that there's no member of parliament who can say "Mwe," because if he says "Mwe," if the party leader realizes you are saying "Mwe" on some things which you are not supposed to say "Mwe," then you are supposed to be "Mwed," and you go "Mwe, Mwe, Mwe." So you go quiet, and you don't. How can we be a country that is running its budget and we don't have rules and regulations what you do with that budget?
But we do have rules and regulations.
The PFM Act has been violated.
Yes,
completely.
It is continuous.
We have governors who are spending 800, 900 million shillings fueling in a year county government vehicles. Can you imagine how much fuel that would run? All right. You have county governments where governors are paid 920 million shillings to a law firm. Which case is that a law firm goes to court? And how many years were those? And by the way, how much was the value of the loss for you to be paid 900 million? And yet we have EACC, which is a constitutional body, and yet we have DCI, and guys are talking about, you can't, what are you, you've not reported this to us. If you see how many letters some of us have written to these bodies, the system is deliberately and completely broken down.
So, when we are aware of some of these things, look, when you're on the inside and seeing some of these things, we don't, those on would hear or you'd smell, there's no smoke without fire. There must be something going on. And Kenyans open their mouths to complain about, the constant pilferage that's happening, the corruption which is through the roof, the lack of the desire to actually implement development agenda in the country. You have the people sick, you have the people poor, you have the people uneducated, you have infrastructure that does not allow a conducive environment for development to thrive. All of these things happen concurrently. And there's a leadership City doesn't like that word. There are people in place who've been given the mandate to ensure that these processes actually happen. Abi, how then? How do you wake up and go to parliament? How do you sit there? You see, does it not create something in you?
The explanation you are giving, it is your description as you as in do. What you think. When you went to school, that's what they told you. That you come, you get responsibility. You go to school because you come, you're supposed to come and serve humanity, that you observe the law, that a country must be governed by rules of laws, and you have a constitution, and you agree to have order.
Okay, school and even conscience maybe would apply, right?
But who told you that that's what they think about? My reality is that is not what they think about. It is your imagination that is what they think about. Why do you think that? The truth is, when do we ever sit to interrogate how we spend state resources and fairly and reasonably? What is there is that we have a system right now that is capitalistic based, that is designed in such a manner that the individuals who are in power will take it all. When you catch them trying to take it all, when they are trying to employ their relatives and their cousins and all that needs to be employed, and you start shouting, they call you, they say, come, we give you a few. When you say